Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
Louis, in about 25 minutes or so on game number 2, Wild Dallas was last series, in Colorado, to try to even up their series with the Lance. Where would you like to begin today's top 5?
Let me see here. I want to pull up one soundbite. Let's see if I can find this. I should have been prepared, but I just thought of this like 2 seconds ago, so why not? Well, now we don't even have anything.
You can't find it?
Well, I can find it. I just had an idea.
It's going to take some time?
It'll just take some time. So I'll just give you John Hines on taking the Gus bus out of the garage.
Gus is going to be in net tonight. We've had 2 very good goalies all year long. You know, Gus has played a lot of good hockey for us. Wally's taken the brunt of the playoffs. You know, he's played 7 straight games. Played very well. You know, the quick turnaround at the end of the series to come to Colorado. And, you know, we have confidence in both of our goalies. They're both excellent. They both played really good hockey. We believe in either one of them can win us a game. And I think it's a good opportunity to get Gus in the net. He's hungry to get in. You know, I think he dealt with not playing for a while. Obviously, Wally played very well. Our team won and continued to go through, but we got another excellent goalie that's hungry to get back in the net.
So the Gus bus gets the nod. The gymnastics and the Kevin O'Connellization of these answers. It's like, we got to make sure everybody's good.
Yeah.
We like everybody. They're both great goalies. We've got a lot of confidence in all of them. Everyone's fine. There's no fire here. It's something, but that just must be goalie mentality. I'm not a puckhead. I don't understand it. I'll never understand it.
It's Cinco de Mayo, correct?
Correct. C.
May 5. What if, however far the Minnesota Wild get in the playoffs, maybe even all the way to the Cup, what if we've seen the last of Volstead, and for the rest of the playoff run,
can't rule it out,
Gus Bus comes out of nowhere, shocks everybody, becomes the dominant goaltender we once thought of him as. Anything is possible in hockey.
Yeah.
Hockey's a funny game. Goaltenders are weird. There is sometimes no rhyme or reason for why logically, out of nowhere, they might play well. I'm not predicting that. It's a fascinating decision. I tend to lean your way, which is I'd have given the kid another start. I worry, there's a catch-22 to what I'm about to say, but what I worry about is the obvious, that I don't want to say your season's on the line, but I don't think you want to get down 2-0, even though both games are there. And it's such a big game to that extent. It's such a big, important rebound game that, you know, there's a part of me that says, well, if we get this wrong, then we're, you know, completely done, and it's over, right? There's no turning back. Now, again, you're coming home for your own 2 games. So you could, you know, if you just maintain your home serve, you can go back for a pivotal game 5 there. But there's so much at stake, you know, when you make this kind of move. And I worry that he's been out so long that it's a little unfair to expect that he's going to just... This isn't like the middle of the regular season where he can ease into it. You've got to get a good performance tonight. On the other hand, the longer you keep him out, the less likely it is, for that very same reason, you want to use him at all. And for teams that do use 2 goaltenders, this is part of the process. This is exactly the way they do it. This isn't like football. The cliche about Mace always says, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you have none.
Right.
The truth is, when you have 2 goaltenders, you can have 2 goaltenders, right? Depending on the team. And over the course of the season, the Wild had 2 goaltenders. More than I think we even expected when the season began. That, of course, was before Volstead learned that he can't drink 12 Diet Cokes a day. Apparently, it was part of his conditioning and his regimen, his food and drink regimen that had to be realigned, shall we say.
He and Anthony Edwards share that.
That's very true.
For soda, apparently.
Very true.
Can't believe I just called it soda. I'm from Minnesota. I never say that. So anyway, puck drops 7 o'clock tonight. Wild Avs Game 2 pregame show right here on the Fan at 6:30.
What has happened to Larry Mondello, guy?
What do you mean?
What the hell has happened to him?
You'll have to be more specific.
Well, let me read you the text. You tell me if there's a punchline here that I'm missing. The other thing about being aggressive towards Wemby is that shot blockers want space. The best thing to do is get into their body, especially with Wemby because he weighs about as much as a flyweight. He'll still block some shots, but it will wear him out and maybe with a different crew get him in foul trouble. Doesn't that sound like a straight basketball observation?
Yeah, what are we doing here?
What's happened to Larry Mondello, guy?
Leave the takes to the rest of the text line, okay? You just come in for your Rosen cheap
shots. Where's the punchline?
Tasteless box of mashed potatoes.
He might say,
Omaha.
well, with a different crew, get him in foul trouble. But that's not a punchline. That's just a little bit of a dig about officiating.
Yeah.
That's all that is. Larry Mondello, guy, I don't know you. That just doesn't sound right.
Do you know yourself?
Well, maybe
Does he know himself right now?
Maybe he's trying to
branch out,
kind of go in a different direction.
Sick of always being the court jester.
Recreate himself. Yeah.
Reimagine himself.
Reimagine himself. Tears of a clown, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
Well, maybe this is the new LMG.
It's possible.
We'll have to see. All right, so 6:30 pregame. Right here on The Fan. Last night on The Fan, you heard this.
Harper the rebound. They get it to Wemby. Back to Harper. 3 seconds left. Now with 2. Champagny moves to his left. Fires a 3 at the buzzer. It's off the front rim. No good. The ball game is over. The Timberwolves have stolen game 1 in San Antonio. 104-102.
Well, it's interesting because I ripped the Spurs play-by-play guy for suggesting that the Wolves stole game 1. Horton said it as well. Here's the cliche is when you're the road team,
yes,
and you win game 1, it's meant as that kind of thievery. In a broader sense, I get it. But within the game itself, my reaction was if that shot had gone in, the Spurs would have stolen game 1. I don't care if it's on their home court. That was the Wolves' game. They had dominated through much of the fourth quarter, had built a lead of as much as 9, I think.
Yes, on the Conley 3.
And so if they lose at the end away, with 2 offensive rebounds helping the San Antonio cause, the bad pass from Anthony Edwards and a 3 at the buzzer. Are you kidding me?
That would have been heartbreaking.
Devastating. And in that sense, I thought that would have been the thievery within the game. But I get it. It's a cliche that's often used regarding the road team hitting, the other team's court for game 1 and winning.
104-102 was the final. The Wolves steal game 1. And I liked what Mike and Nori said. I had the same reaction as the shot was going up, everybody, because it's a wide open 3. Nas just completely flies at him and gives him a wide open look. Not the most disciplined. You're in a scramble mode there. But when it went off the rim, I had the same thing that Mike and Nori did. I'm like, wow, that's it.
Yeah.
Because the last minute was so anti-NBA.
It was.
There were no timeouts.
Yeah.
There were no reviews. Everything finished, it seemed like, so quickly that as they're coming up the court, you said, this is it. This is the ball game right here. It was crazy because you're used to 9 reviews, 50 timeouts, and none of that happened. Got to say, it was kind of nice, but it was so
refreshing.
weird.
Yeah,
it was so weird.
Is that all there is? Wait, is that it? Is that the actual game?
Yeah, they're up 1-0.
You mentioned Micah, who joined us at 3:30. I definitely think they are conscious of trying to tire out Wemby, and there's no question that should be part of the strategy. The Spurs very intentionally kept Wemby's minutes in the regular season to like 30, 29, 28, 27. And it made sense in terms of his background, his injury history, etc. But the downside is, you got to up it in the playoffs. I think he played 40 last night. And you run the risk that he's not really ready for the wars,
right?
Physically speaking, because of what he is. That's an extra 10 minutes a game that he has to be committed to. And in Micah's world, what did they do with the Nuggets' 2 best players? They basically said, we know you're all world, especially Joker, but we're just going to make you work from start to finish. In the 2-man game, we're going to make everything difficult. And by the fourth quarter, we're going to tire you out.
Yep.
And they were. And I think he mentioned the Spurs they don't play a 2-man game at all the same way near the 3-point line, but The idea here is make him have to be as active as possible. Have him in actions when you can. Bump him, lean on him, use Randall, despite the big height difference. Just use his strength and his weight to have some sort, to exact some sort of a maybe physical toll on a guy who is still, he's a flyweight, according to Larry Mondello guy.
Yep.
And I think that's, hell, next game he could go out and score 40.
Of course.
But I think it's smart strategy. Just as Micah put it, it's the old boxing analogy. You just keep going with the body blows, man. Go to the gut over and over again, hoping that it might have a cumulative effect later on the other guy's, best chance to throw his best punch.
And of the 7 games that the Wolves have played in this postseason, 6 of them, and really 7, because the Wolves cut it to 2 in game 1 of the fourth quarter against Denver. The other team has looked exhausted playing the Wolves.
There's no question.
That's my takeaway from this team.
They have.
Like they are just physically draining, and they've got a lot of guys. And Jaden, of course, doesn't even look tired again at the end.
No.
Rudy never really looks tired either. Randall looked gassed last night. They all did. But the Wolves were able to make more plays, I think, because they were, believe it or not, the fresher team, even though they went 6 games against Denver. Was there one more Wolves thing I wanted to bring up?
I don't know, but while you wait for it or try to come up with it, there are a lot of people worried about Larry Mondello guy.
They need a wellness check.
They think there's something, that he needs an intervention.
Well, this is it. This is what we're doing.
Example, Flim Flam. Give me vintage Larry Mondello guy or give me nothing. I mean,
Flim Flam speaks
hard
for a lot of
words,
us.
but I think a lot of people are concerned. I mean, just trying to speak the truth.
And then the game everybody's excited about tonight starts in about 30 minutes in Washington, D.C.
Everybody is?
Where the 16-19 Washington Nationals host the 15-20 Minnesota Twins.
Well, did you
Taj
see
Bradley
the
on the
headline
mound.
in the Star Tribune?
I don't think I saw the headline.
3 bad weeks. Maybe it was the sub-headline. But the Twins are not even close to being buried in the standings. That's what we got. That's the.
I was going to bring up the standings.
It's the Star Tribune silver lining, and it's like it's technically true, but why aren't they buried?
Because
look at the
Detroit's
records.
500 and so is Cleveland.
Look at the records in the division. That's what we're going to raise a banner about. Go ahead.
We're 2.5 games back. We're in last place in the division. 2.5 games back.
Is there some kind of do the Twins pay the Star Tribune for a continual silver linings approach? Is that what it is?
Maybe Paul Bloom, Fox 9, or Lou Raguse needs to get on it. Follow the money.
It's bizarre to me. We'll ask Lavelle on Friday if necessary.
Speaking of money, the fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks. It is our national cash contest. The final keyword of the evening is cash. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword cash.
Louis, in 15 minutes, questions 64686. Back in a second. Back. Louis coming up at the bottom of the hour, 64686. If you have questions for him, the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Longtime local media gadfly Eric Vigo had DM'd me listening to the discussion we were having about my annoyance with the number of jackals who basically made it sound like the Wolves are fools if they try to ever challenge Wembanyama. And I'll say again, some days discretion, or some moments discretion is the better form of valor. You can be smart with it. There's ways to thread the needle. But the idea that you're so concerned about being embarrassed by a ball being swatted away, or the media jackals who seemed embarrassed for the Wolves. It's a curious phenomenon. And he made, I think, a good point on that same issue. We are imprisoned by the fear of judgment just as much by the fear of failure in 2026 holds a lot of athletes back. I think there's some truth to
Totally.
that.
Kids in particular.
And it's got
the lower you go down,
sure.
You don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want to get cooked. You don't want your ankles broken, as you said, 100%.
It's stunning. I guess I might understand it more with young kids because they're young and they're playing, or even athletes at the professional level. But I'm continually amazed at how many media members seem more embarrassed for the player than the player is. Like there's that concern about what that image is going to look like. Like it's going to be baked into your memories for the rest of your life if you get dunked on, for God's sake. It's stupid, but it's viral, and that's where that, unfortunately, is, I think, governing the way too many people in my business even think.
And you know what?
Yeah.
Not to interrupt.
No, that's all right.
We pick and choose what's embarrassing and what's not.
That's true, too.
Because, and it's not the same because it wasn't a game-winning shot, but Ant had Wemby in isolation last night in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
And knocked a three down right in his face.
Yes. It was a terrific shot.
From about the same spot where Luka did the same to Rudy. Now, I get it. It's the Western Conference Finals game winner, hunted matchup, but it's the same phenomenon. Anthony Edwards, the guy's blocking everything in that night. And I think before that, Jaden turned around and did the nevermind and said, no, I'm going to come back out and I'm going to give it to Ant.
Yes.
Ant took
yes,
the
he
smoke,
did. That's exactly what he did.
Nailed the three, and it's just like, okay. And again, it wasn't a game winner, so I know, but it is interesting how we pick and choose what's embarrassing, who got cooked. It's just...
Which goes back to reputation.
Reputation
Wemby
is the word.
Hasn't been around long enough to where we're going to take shots at him and rip him and say, well, he can't, you know what, maybe he can't do this, this, and this, even though he can do 3 or 4 other things. He'll get there eventually, unless he wins titles every year, which eventually might very well happen, although I don't think we're quite there yet. The 12 block shots, I've heard, and I guess I missed this, but I've heard fairly objective people say they think at least 2 of them were goaltending.
Yep.
Do you remember the ones in particular? Because none of them stood out to me as absolute goaltending, but these are from people I trust. They're being fairly objective. Were there a couple that you saw that were clearly goaltending?
The most egregious one is the second Shannon one.
The second Shannon one? So the ball had already hit the backboard?
Yes.
Okay.
Like pretty dramatically. It was weird. And even like, obviously, you know me, I'm a rube. I see things through the Wolves' perspective. Yes. We get no calls. Although I thought we got one on the Randall push-off of Castle where they called it on him. Randall went to the line. Early in the game, there was that. There was the over and back that was clearly deflected into TJ Shannon that was tipped, and then it hit his knee and he went out. Like, there was just a lot of, like, those are ones you just can't miss. Like, they're not judgment calls. You know what I mean? It's not, did a guy rip his arm through?
50-50.
Did he take bumps? Yeah, I mean, Finchie basically said today, he said 4, maybe 5. Basically, all 12 were some, Rudy even said, I got fouled on a couple of them. That's the other thing, too. It's like, what's a foul, what's not? It's the playoffs. There's contact. Everybody's playing physical. But the first, I think it was the second Shannon one, was easily off the backboard, and then Wemby cleaned it up. It was weird that everything kind of felt a step slow for those guys, talking about the officials at first, where they were just missing what should be pretty fundamental things for NBA refs to get.
Making a quick text note here to Johnny Athletic for a piece of intel I'm looking for. Here's the other sneaky thing we haven't talked about at all that has gotten some attention nationally and should. De'Aaron Fox was awful.
He was. It's stunning.
He is a max player.
I know, and I love him. I love him.
Awful. It wasn't just that he missed 9 of 14 shots. He finished with 6 turnovers. 6 of the San Antonio Davy, a total of 13 they had. He had almost half of them. And believe me, that went a long way to opening the door to the Wolves winning. Now, I expect, similarly, he'll probably play better. But let's remember something on De'Aaron Fox, man. I know you love him. He's skilled. This is the first time he's been out of the first round. And, I don't want to put it all on the Wolves defense, but if you're doing the pecking order again, he is their second best player, right? So their big 2 would be Fox and Wembanyama. The Nuggets' big 2 were obviously Joker and Jamal. And the Wolves' defense neutralized the Denver big 2. And offensively, neither of San Antonio Davies' big two were a factor.
Right.
That's a major victory. So one of the national guys said flat out, Mike Conley outplayed De'Aaron Fox. Think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Because Conley's in a very different role, and he had a great game last night. 4 3-pointers, correct?
4 of 7.
24 minutes. Again, 0 turnovers as well. Louis, right around the corner. As I said, keep the questions coming in. We'll talk goaltender with him and who knows what else as the Wild prepare for Game 2 right here on the Fan. Pregame show will begin at 6:30 from Denver, Colorado.
Well, she sneaks around the world from India to Carolina. She's a sticky-fingered filcher from Berlin down to Belize. She'll take you for a ride on a slow boat to China. Tell me where in the world is
Lou Nanne.
Brought to you by his good friends at Kemp's. 64686, Bradshaw and Bryant. Text line if you have questions or observations on the Wild Lance series or anything else going on in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Before we get to Louis, real quick update on a story we spent a decent amount of time on. Seifert and one of his compadres over at ESPN reporting moments ago that it appears that the NFL officials are on the verge of signing a new collective bargaining agreement. So all that teeth gnashing over the possibility of having to bring in refs from college, it's beginning to look as if that will not be necessary.
Well, that was a good 2-week story.
We milked it. They milked it.
Yeah.
And then we move on with the rest of our lives. Our next guest loves officials. Always has. Loves referees. Always thinks they get a bad rap. You've told me many times over the years you think that officials, no matter the sport, are all misunderstood, didn't you?
Well, I want to tell you something that you didn't know. But when I was, after I graduated from the university and I didn't sign with Chicago, in the winter the first year I was an official.
Really?
Honest to God.
Is that right?
And I do appreciate what they do. I just get upset when they miss a call that affects our team.
Well, who were you doing that with? What was the
High school.
No kidding.
Yeah.
How did you find it?
So they found me. That might be a good thing. I was, I had.
Yeah.
We had 4 children then, so I had to put food on the table.
What was the experience
kind of job
like?
I could think of, I did.
But clearly the experience did not make you think more often of the difficulties and challenges of their jobs. That's for sure, because you still ripped on officials all the time.
No, not all the time. I really do respect officials. I can't believe what a good job they do. I just reserve the right to get upset with them when they miss the ones on us.
Yeah, I understand that.
My sources tell me that, like the state tournament broadcasts, Louis always favored Edina. That's what my sources say.
Which is far from true.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to get you going.
If my kids or grandkids were playing, yes, I did.
Yeah. Well,
Other than that, it didn't matter who won. I just want to have no overtime to get home when my job was done.
No overtime was the big key.
Were you a guy? Did you call a lot of penalties, or were you one of those officials who said, I got to let the players decide. I'm not going to get that involved.
I don't recall ever calling a penalty.
Really? Wow.
No, you
did want to get home,
Let
didn't
him play.
You?
Yeah. Don't stop the clock.
You wanted to get home. I love it. That's too good. Here's your toss-up question. This is from Jake in Maple Grove. Does Louis buy the backup goalie effect theory that this texter has? In my playing and Phantom experience, I've always believed the teams play a better game defensively when their stud goalie isn't playing. Could that at all be the reason Gus is in net tonight? Wake up the guys to play a more structured defensive game. What do you think?
Well, last night, Kevin Gorgon and I had a long conversation, and I gave him my reasoning why I thought they should play Gus tonight. I said, Kev, you could be right. At that time, he wanted Wally to be back in net. And I said, just let me give you a few scenarios, different ones. First of all, a couple of years back, you'll recall what happened when we played Fleury both games in Talbot, and Talbot comes in at the end. I said, and that might have been the reason why Talbot eventually was traded.
That's
that
true.
Notwithstanding, I said, you have a rookie goaltender and who's had a sensational run. Now, he wasn't great. There are 3 goals in the same position. Even whether they said that's where they were shooting, that's where he has a weak spot, whether that gets in his mind or not, That wasn't where my thinking was going. My thinking was going, you have Gus, when you look back at when he's had his off runs there during the year, and he'd come back, he'd be out of the net for a while, and he came back strong for the majority of times. I can't remember when he didn't. And so I said, he's sitting there, and he's waiting for the chance. And I'm just hoping that the same thing's going to happen. But more than that, here's what really is an effect that I'm thinking about. What if Wally goes back in the net tonight, and he let the same type of goals in, and they get beat the same way? Now, going back to Minnesota, Gus has got to come in. And in all likelihood, Wally might never get back in the net because it's going to be tough to beat Colorado, whether I like it or not. I secretly was thinking Minnesota was going to beat Colorado if they were healthy. But you lose your best defensive defenseman and your best defensive forward and try and slow that machine down for 4 other games, it's going to be really difficult, which means that Gus might win 1, might win 2, but then he's going to have the run of the net for the rest of the series, and then next year you go with Wally. And is that still sitting in Wally's mind if he goes back to the playoffs?
Mm-hmm.
What happens? I said, now, if you take him out and Gus goes in and has a bad night, then Wally's going to be thinking, well, it happened to him, happened to me. It's not a big deal. And he goes back, he'll be back in the net the next game in Minnesota. And so it's going to sort of clear his mind. And that's why I was hoping they were going to go with Gus tonight.
So are you surprised, though, that they're going with Gus? Not that you didn't want to see that, but that they made that call.
Yeah, I am, only because it looked to me like some of the statements I heard after the game were strong enough that it felt to me like they were trying to reassure Wally because he was going to go back in the net.
Interesting. So what do you make of the accusation, the comments from, I think it was more than one member of the Lanch, maybe it was one, I don't recall, basically saying, in effect, we found a weakness where there's a certain spot that we scored several times on, and we've figured that out, that we got to tell on this guy. What do you make of that?
Well, that was Kadri that said it, and he was relating to the 3 goals that they had on that one side above the pad and below the glove, and that the announcer was pointing out a few times as well. And I think that maybe he didn't realize it. He shouldn't be saying it, or maybe there was something in his mind to just get Wally thinking Wally's going to go back in the net, get him thinking about something that he shouldn't be thinking about.
Well, it's what we've talked about forever. It's what makes the game so fascinating, is that you have this ongoing component that plays the most important position in sports, and you can calculate it out a million ways, Louis. I think, on the debate team, I think I could debate either side of this pretty persuasively. And I really do. I get your point. I think there's a way to argue it in favor of keeping Wallstedt out there, but it's so consequential, right? I mean, we've seen how often these are the kinds of decisions. Now, maybe, like you say, maybe we're kidding ourselves given the injuries, and it's not going to matter all that much. But, sometimes these are the decisions we look back on and being so key. And in hockey, it's always this, right? I mean, it can be line changes, I guess. It can get occasionally lineup changes, but when you factor in all the power that a goalie has, to turn a game one way or another, it's still the key decision that any coach has to make.
Well, Dan, I said, Kevin, you might be right, and I could agree with you that I could argue the other side of it pretty good too. But we've done it when we were in the playoffs. We switched Milosh and Beaupre a few times, and it worked out. And it's just a gut feeling. Now, you could be right, you could be wrong, but I think one of the things you have to take into account. Now, Gus has been your number one goalie for the year, basically until the last 3 weeks. He was the number one goaltender.
He was.
Now, do you want to even take a chance of going into the off season? Say that they put Wally in and he stays in the net, then you come back with Gus, what you have to do in Minnesota. Now he's not only upset that he didn't get a chance before that after 8 goals were given up, but then if he gets beat on top of that, do you want that kind of thought going through his mind all summer long? And is this how they really felt? They told me I was their number one goalie, and then told me that we got two good ones. We're not afraid to put anybody else in, and yet they were. You have to remember that unless they trade them, their time with the club doesn't end just with the series if they happen to get beat. Then they're back there next year. And now, how is it going to affect the relationship during the year when things go sour for a goaltender, which they will for a period of time all year long with everybody that happens. But I just think that I think it was a natural to come back with Gus tonight.
What if Gus is horrible tonight? Then what do you do in Game 3?
Then you know what that does? It relieves the pressure off Wally going into the third game. That's why I'm saying.
So you come back with him? Yeah.
He'll definitely be back. Wally will be definitely in the net. And at least then two things are going to happen. One, it's going to relieve the pressure on Wally to play in that third game. And two, it's going to erase any doubts of Gus that why they weren't playing him.
651 guy asks, what is the strategy against a team like Colorado? Do you try to go toe-to-toe like a Rocky fight again, or do you have to try to lock things down and win 2-1? How many minutes into period one before Foligno gets the roughing call against Makar?
Well, I hope he gets them quick, because maybe he'll put him out. But I have to tell you, you have to pressure Colorado, especially the defensemen. You have to make certain that they don't come out so quickly and with speed, and you have to check them tightly all the way down the ice. You got to continually be picking up your man, the open man. You're not going to win games against Colorado if you're in outnumbered situations all night long. And they gave up far too many outnumbered situations that some have resulted in goals and others pretty near goals. But you don't play run and gun with the number one offensive team in the league.
I get this question a lot, not always for you, but today it is for you. This is from Wilfred in Richfield. We asked Louis why Minnesota doesn't play on penalty kills.
Because, first of all, he's getting so much ice time as it is. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the difference in body position in front of the net when you're killing penalties, usually you're not going to play a smaller guy killing penalties when you're battling for position unless they have a unique talent at it. We played Kurt Giles killing penalties in front of the net, and Kurt was as small as either, but he had great body position. Spurgeon has great body position. He's killed penalties for years and years here in Minnesota, which at first astounded me how good he was at it, and then I've seen it so often now I'm not surprised. And Quinn does need a little rest. I mean, he's already playing half the game. So what better time than to get it than to try and muscle with guys for pucks? It's not like there's a difference between getting the puck and having room to escape people like he does when he's 5-5. But whenever you're killing a penalty, you're 5-4, which means at all times the offensive team's got to have two guys on that puck. So if it's Quinn, he's got to go in the corners and battle two guys to come up with the puck, which isn't going to happen a lot of the time because the first guy's just going to pin him. And it's going to take a lot of wear and tear out of him. It's not using his best talents at the best time, and it's giving the other guys an opportunity to have killed penalties for a long time to do their job. And they had that last one killed. I mean, we know it's a full string goal, but it is, everybody else is saying, well, it really was, and it was a short-handed goal because it broke McCarron's stick, bounced in while it was bouncing in. Faber got out of the penalty box.
So let's take a little bit broader view on Game 1 because we haven't talked on air since then beyond the goaltending. How much of it do you put on the goaltending? How much of it you put on the play in front of Wallstedt? And just generally speaking, did you come out of that game even less convinced that the Wild can play with them, especially given the injuries? Or do you say, well, it's basically a one-goal game for like 4 minutes to go? You don't want to shoot out with them, but they climbed back into the damn thing. What were your general impressions off of Game 1?
Well, my general impression was if we'd had Brodin and Eriksson Ek there, I think we would have won the game. Because if you notice how many times without Brodin there, the game could entry to the zone on the left side. They were able to control pucks for a long time and even battle for the pucks. One of the things that is overlooked about Brodin by many, many people is how efficient he is along the boards, fighting for pucks and getting them out of the zone. Not only at full strength, but killing penalties as well. And so you miss one of the top defensive players in the league, and I'm not the only guy saying it. You watch any broadcast, and everybody's saying it now as well. And Eriksson Ek's your best defensive forward. And checking, hitting, eliminating guys, well, you miss those two guys, I think they would have made a significant difference in that game, because then it changes your defense pairing. Yeah. It changes how you're playing against other people, and it definitely changes your forward matchups. And so that was huge. That's the thing that upset me the most. I mean, I really felt the same way I felt about the Wild playing Dallas, that the Wild were going to win. And I felt this about Colorado. If the Wild were healthy, Wild were going to win. And now I'm not so optimistic, because I'm telling you, Brodin will not be back for the rest of the playoffs, and we're going to be very lucky if we see Eriksson Ek back for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like from Russo too.
And so if you're missing two of your best players, you're already playing the best team in the world, and now you're short-handing yourself. The only thing we got going for us is what I was hoping would happen at the beginning of the series. I'm not overly sold on the goaltending of Colorado.
Yeah, you said
that's our key.
Yeah.
That's our key. And I still think we got the chance if we really have to check him tightly. I wouldn't be surprised if he would move Hunt over with Spurgeon, and because of the speed on the left side for who the matchup's coming with that group, and put Bogosian back with Middleton as 5 and 6 and also killing penalties. That wouldn't surprise me either, because that's something that I would think about.
In game one, what was worse, the Wild goaltending or the defensive play in front of the goaltender?
Well, it wasn't the defensive play only in front of the goaltending. It was a lack of checking and watching the guys. That was to me. That allowed the goaltending to be worse, because it was giving clear shots. They were getting opportunities. Colorado was getting wide open opportunities from scoring areas, places where they could score. You know, when your goaltender's hot, they're not going to score all of them, and they might not score any of them. But he wasn't hot. Wally, you have to be honest. Wally probably 3 goals there that I think he would like to have back. But at the same time, some of those opportunities were given up by the poor defensive play that never should have been there for them to have that kind of chance.
Again, we'll keep the text going via Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line 64686. So tonight, early, what are you looking for? What do you need to see?
I need to see them not allowing the freedom to move with the puck the way Colorado's been going, like racehorse hockey, out of their zone, down the ice into the Wild zone. I want to see more of the plays challenged at the Wild blue line, not giving up the zone so quickly. Because when you start backing off and they're coming with that speed, they don't have to break down the speed to get into the zone. But if you... The key is going to be tight gaps between the forwards and the defensemen, especially in the neutral zone. If there's tight gaps in that neutral zone, that's going to cut down on the ability of Colorado to come full speed into their offensive zone. So I want to see tight gaps. I'd almost want to see early in the game just when you have a chance, you go to 2-man forecheck. But if you don't, you just go 1 and have 4 in a neutral zone, really with tight gaps, so they don't get that opportunity the way ahead, and keep shutting them down there. Because if they're not careful and you got those tight gaps, they'll turn pucks over to blue line of the Wild, which might give the Wild some opportunities to transition real quickly into a man situation for them.
What beyond this series, I know that's the center of your attention, but what beyond this series has caught your eye around the rest of the league to this point?
Well, the game last night, it's a 1-1 hockey game with 4.5 minutes to go in the game, and there's an icing on the puck, and Lacombe thought he had position, and on a apparent icing, and Eichel comes, and by the time they got to where they're going to call the icing, it could have gone Lacombe's way and been an icing, but they didn't. So Vegas gets the puck, scores a goal, and wins the game. And Vegas right now is just they're in a roll, and Anaheim is just really upset. I mean, they are really upset because they thought it was a definite icing. The guy was 10 feet before the red line when he shot it in. And the other thing is Philadelphia coming back with the kind of game they did when Carolina looked so dominant in that first game. And last night, Philadelphia should have won the game. They had a breakaway in overtime. The guy misses the net. But they had 14 shots in overtime and didn't win the game.
Tonight, you'll be obviously watching Game 2 tonight. You can, of course, listen to it on the Fan. Pre-game show will start at 6:30. Opening face-off just past 7 o'clock. So when we get to round 2 and the current condition the team is in, are you even more superstitious than you usually are? Is it walking in and out of rooms, depending on how it's going? Or what's the Lou Nanne hockey experience, TV experience going to be tonight?
It's going to be sitting and not moving unless things are bad right away, and then I'll have to move to change things. You can go back and sit in a different seat and not move again. I don't move very much. I really like that I'm just my wife and I watching a game. I don't want to talk. I don't want to ask questions. I just want to watch, and my OCD's reverted in again, and it's just not good. I mean, I had always reserved the right to revert, and,
yes,
and I've reverted. I mean, it was really tough in Dallas. I don't know how I didn't have cramps for 2 weeks. I went to the doctor this morning to get a shot in my elbow because they can't straighten out my elbow, and I had to get some cortisone.
Cortisone,
yeah. You can't bend your elbow. I said, well, I've been sitting in a certain position for 3 weeks. I said, maybe he forgot to where it's supposed to go.
Oh, that's too good. Now, do you ever you will change your position, sit in a different spot? Do you ever actually move the furniture around, or does the furniture stay stationary?
Oh no, I might spin the chair one way and another way. I used to have 4 spins to the right and 2 to the left when the game started.
That's too good.
And then if they scored first, then I go 4 to the left and 2 to the right to even it off. And then if it didn't work, then I go 4 each way.
That's so good. That is so good. I've seen you in action occasionally in that situation, so I'm not at all surprised. Do we look at tonight? Is there such a thing as a must-win when you're still on the road? What do you think?
Well, yeah. You would like to think it's not, but it's going to, because of the short-handedness of the team. Tonight's almost a must-win because I don't know if we could go 4 games short-handed, and that's what it would take to put Colorado out after tonight. I just think it's going to be really tough. You're playing the best team in the world, and they proved it all year long. And so I'm feeling better tonight because I'm so certain that the Wild as a team is going to play better. And when I say play better, I mean they're going to be much more effective defensively, work in their own zone. Mm-hmm. Hines has done an outstanding job with this team with the way they check. They are really a good physical and diligent checking team. So, yeah, it's going to matter a lot on whether Gus gets his bounce-back game because he's going to get tested.
Yeah.
And if he gets his bounce-back game, that's going to make the guys check even better as the game's going on and with more confidence. And we got a chance to win. You know, there's a lot of talent on this Wild team. Even when they lose 2 great players like that, they still got a lot left. Frankly, I think Kaprizov's he could get 2 goals. He might get none, but I think he's going to get 2.
Yeah, I mean, the big knockers, sometimes that's what changes things. You got to have somebody, play out of their mind. To that end, maybe you've already answered the question. 651 guy asks, if you were behind the bench tonight for the Wild, what one player are you asking to do? What one thing to potentially change the momentum in the series?
I'm going to ask Kaprizov to shoot more often and control the puck going into the zone with speed and shoot rather than, pretty passes. He is still an extremely accurate shooter. He hits the upper corners, and especially on the near side when he's coming off the right wing, he's left-hand shot. So often it's amazing. And those shots will beat that goaltender. And I want to see him take those shots. You get into tendencies of passing the puck a lot, and it works with he and Zuccarello have got such a great feel for one another, where they are, what they're going to do. But they've both had occasions this last game and the one in Dallas of overpassing. And I know somebody was listening to Phil talking during the Tampa game the other night, and Phil was doing the radio, and he said in the first period, "For God's sake, shoot the puck, quit passing." and that's what goal scorers think about. They think shoot the puck, and even though we had a number of shots, we can have more. And I think with this goaltender here, we want to take more shots because he doesn't look all that solid to me. He had like some of the great goaltenders in this league. He's had a great year. I go along with that. But the pressure is different right now. Challenge him. Make him make saves that he's not used to making. And the best guy to do that is Kaprizov.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's exactly what you need. And we don't have to wait long because it's a 7 o'clock start tonight, 6:30 pregame show on the Fan. Thanks, as always, especially for the extra contributions. And we will stay in touch as this thing plays out. Thank you, Luigi.
Okay, buddy.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Louis, brought to you by Kemp's. Lots of texts I couldn't even get to with Luigi. They were coming in fast and furious. So we'll address 2 or 3 of those when we come back after a very short top of the hour pause. And maybe the rest of the way we do indeed just mix and match between reacting to Game 1 of the Wolves series and previewing Game 2 of the Minnesota Wild series. Don't go.
There's always a role for Mike Conley.
Certainly was last night. 24 minutes, 12 points, all on 3-point shots, including the biggest one on the right side that increased the lead to, I think, 9.
Yes.
That was with Ant still on the bench.
Yes. It was interesting.
When he left, they were up 4. And they built upon that. I want to say Conley hit a 3. Did Nas have a basket in that stretch?
Nas had a putback.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Where he kind of left Wemby and got the ball.
I was very hard on Nas after Game 1 of the Denver series. I think he deserved it. But I will say what stuck out to me last night about Reed was his defense. I thought defensively he was a lot more
Eventually.
in the fray and active.
Eventually.
You know? Yeah.
He's still... I can't describe it. There's something where it's almost like he's surprised how intense it's going to be or how low he has to get.
Right.
Or, you can't just whip a pass somewhere that someone's going to be there. Like he gave up a 3-point play in the first half last night. And it was on the first 2 steps where he's just kind of getting back.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, crap, I'm done. It's like, that's what's still, and again, I know he's battling a shoulder. He was actually pretty funny today. You saw the thing at halftime where he was kind of wincing after he took that half quarter.
Yeah.
He said, Rudy threw it to me, and I didn't really think much about it. He goes, probably the dumbest thing I've ever done.
That probably didn't help.
It didn't help. But he played great, and he hit those big threes, too.
Yeah, he hit a couple big threes, and I thought
he changed the game.
He was much more active defensively as well. For the record, we were talking about how dreadful De'Aaron Fox played, going 5 for 14 for the floor. Had 6 turnovers in the game. That was high. I think on our side, Randall had 5, but Fox had 6 and misses 9 of 14 shots. And he's supposed to be the guy. He's a veteran player. He's a max player, the whole bit. Guess what? The Wolves used a lot of different people on him defensively.
Yep.
But mainly they used Jaden.
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence. It's not.
No, it's not
a mistake. I mean, just how important he is on that side of the ball in a game where offensively, he didn't have, I guess you could say, it didn't feel like he had a lot going, but by the end of the night, he had 16 points.
It felt like he had some big shots,
and he did hit some big shots. He was 7. That's what's interesting about this distribution on shots, right? We've got Randall with 20, Jaden with 14, Conley 8, Shannon 13, Edwards 13. I honestly sometimes, now again, eventually you need the over-the-top performance from Edwards, obviously. But they're in some ways more lethal when it's set up this way. And I do think that Finchie did a really good job managing the Edwards minutes. I really do. Because it's, when they tell you, okay, why don't you around 25, then you got to figure out, you don't want to run out where then in the fourth quarter he's not available.
Right. It's tempting.
And it's got to be tempting. But I think that Finchie did a very good job making sure he still had some minutes left. It was, I think, the way to go was to have him come off the bench. I don't know. I asked Micah Nori this when we chatted with him at 3:30. Will they do it the same way in game 2? And he made it even more open-ended, like, well, we got to be sure everything's okay that he can play in game 2, which the most encouraging part physically, I thought, was that I didn't see anything that looked funky. I could go, oh, God, they are rolling the dice, putting him out there. He looks shaky. He looks like he's playing off of 1 foot or whatever. I didn't see much of that. Now, we didn't see the whole package the way he's capable.
Right.
But I didn't come away going, well, why even bother having him out there at all, especially in the fourth quarter when he ended up scoring 11. Later, the bad turnover, obviously, and the mistakes on the defensive rebounding end. But I thought that was managed well, and it's easier to manage it, obviously, if you start him off the bench.
And if the other guys are keeping you within striking distance.
Yes, and they did.
And it felt like there were half a dozen times where San Antonio was looking to break the thing open and take it from 4 or 5 to 10 or 12. And credit to the Wolves, they fought back every single time, whether Ant was in there or not. He came up, Gimpy, that one finish in the fourth where he got kind of tied up. He finished at the rim and kind of landed funny, might have landed by somebody, and he started limping a little bit, but that was 10 seconds. And then, he wasn't his normal explosive self, but he took Keldon Johnson twice, and Johnson was on him.
Yes.
I like that guy, Keldon Johnson.
He's good.
I wouldn't chirp Anthony. I don't think that's a good idea.
Right.
But he bully-balled Randall a couple of times. He clearly wanted the smoke from Edwards, and Edwards got the most of him.
Yeah, the footwork was good from Ant last night. And the Wolves did finish with 6 in double figures. I forget, even, Nas, we're talking about the shot selection. He had 8. Edwards, as I said, 13. Randall with 20. Jaden, 14. And Conley, 8. And Terrence Shannon Jr. was at 13. The free throws, because there's a lot of talk about this, people saying, well, the Spurs can play a lot better, shoot a lot better, and that's true. But 12 for 21 from the free throw line could have been absolutely lethal.
It would have been the reason they lost.
In a game like that. That's 57%. San Antonio Davy was 14 for 18 last night. So,
how many points did Shannon finish with?
Shannon finished with 17. Excuse me. Let me back up a little bit. 16 points. Only 5, not efficient, 5 for 13 from the floor. But again, he got to the free throw line 8 times.
Yeah.
And has gotten to the free throw line in both of those games. And once again had 0 turnovers, which I think is a big deal.
And nothing feels fluky about it. That's the funniest thing. Like, we're just going, Shannon's having great games. He was non-existent essentially the entire season. And now he's in here in big spots, and they're putting the ball in his hands. More so than other guys. Established playoff pedigree guys. And
crazy.
He's delivering. It's crazy when you really think about it.
It did, and now at the end of the Game 6 in Denver, that's exactly what they did. They isolated him out high, and he scored on that one. He went to the left and got like a 15-foot, whatever it was.
Yep.
Look, there's not a conspiracy against him. I mean, he obviously there were things he wasn't doing in the regular season early before he got hurt that contributed to him going from a rotation guy early you're in the doghouse and we're done with you. But I do think Finchie has acknowledged part of what may have played into that was not taking advantage of the ball being in his hands. And that always is harder on a team where the ball's dominated with Edwards. But it's not impossible because Edwards doesn't play 48 minutes. There's ways to try to take advantage of that. And even when Edwards is on the court, there are ways to take advantage of that. And they're obviously going to have to moving forward. There's not any question.
With this group, too, I'm just curious in the future because the other thing that was roadblocking him was you had Dante, who played all 82.
Yeah, that's true.
And more recently, you have Ayo. Mm-hmm. And they're both, it sounds like Ayo got a positive, he's got a positive injury designation for tomorrow. It's an upgrade to questionable, so he's apparently improving. But those guys were more of your lead guards even during the regular season, certainly after the deadline when they brought Ayo in. So it wasn't just Ant obviously taking all the playmaking responsibilities or the ball handling. And so moving forward, it'll be interesting to see how that, because you can do a lot of different things. Now you can keep Ayo off the ball. You can keep Dante off the ball when he comes back. Like, that's a good thing to have, knowing that Shannon can do it.
Rudy was 1 for 5 from the free throw. I mean, he was the worst on a bad free throw night. He was 1 for 5. Usually you can count on him going 50%. I know. Right? Or 58 or whatever on a given night.
He airballed one.
I think he made the last one that he took. But he was dreadful from the line. And Julius was 3 for 6 from the line, too.
How about the trade on the Bones Highland made 3, and they call the foul, and they say the shot doesn't count. So instead of the made 3 by Bones. Oh, yeah,
that was big.
Huge.
That was massive, yeah.
Could have been. Well, I don't know what the rule is. If that was the right call or not.
I think it was the right call. The question was whether the call is about when the whistle is blown or when the foul is committed.
I know.
And I don't know what the ruling is on that. That's something maybe we could have talked about with Micah. Let's get one more pause in, and we'll remind you about an outstanding 4 o'clock guest that has some Timberwolves implications, but some Arts implications as well. And then we'll prepare you for what's up the rest of this evening and what we have coming up on tomorrow's broadcast.
Show Wrap presented by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Dan, do you think Rudy or Shaq are worse at free throws? I don't know the stats, but why can't tall guys shoot them? My guess would be... That's a good question.
There were so many theories with Shaq.
My guess would be that over the course of his career, Rudy would be a worse free throw shooter than Shaq. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's Shaq. I mean, was there ever a strategy called the Hack of Rudy?
It's been done.
Strategy, because it might be a factor in this series.
I was surprised they didn't do it last night when they put him back out on the floor.
That's exactly
in the final couple of minutes.
It might have had something to do with why he was out there. Was out of there as long as he was too. We'll look that up. I'm not sure which is worse. Don't forget tonight, live and local once again on the Fan, beginning with the Wild pregame show immediately following this program, because opening faceoff is just past 7 o'clock tonight. All of the action on FM 100.3 The Fan, with plenty of reviewing of Game 2 tomorrow on this program. We'll also preview Game number 2 in more depth, the Wolves and the San Antonio Spurs. Davey, I want to thank our special guest today. That includes Wolves lead assistant Micah Norrie, who joined at 3:30 for a wide-ranging conversation. Luigi at 5:30. Luigi's usually pretty upbeat and positive. He sounds very, very discouraged. Not so much because he doesn't think at full strength the Wild could play with the Lanch, but that with the players they're missing, both good defensive players, one a forward, Eriksson Ek, obviously, and Brodin not available, he thinks it's going to be very, very difficult to come back and end up winning this series. Louis joined at 5:30, and a good solid half hour with our old friend Jimmy Jam Harris. Back in the news locally, because he and Terry, his partner, Jimmy Jam Harris, I should say, and Terry Lewis, they're going to perform at the Great Minnesota Get-Together, the state fair that's right around the corner.
Crazy.
They officially are now a part of. We talked about that. We talked about the Wolves. We talked about a couple of other honors and appearances for Jimmy And that, as I said, is podcastable. Should be available after the show between 4 and 4:30. Tomorrow is Kessler Day. And tomorrow is also, who else do we have scheduled for now?
Former Wolves team doctor and Anthony Edwards confidant, Orono's own Robbie Sika.
I'm looking forward to that.
4 o'clock hour sometime.
Yeah. And we may add in, some things.
Working on a
tomorrow.
wild guest as well.
Wild guest and maybe even some stuff later in the week involving our guy Kreger. So lots yet to come the rest of the week. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching Wild Hockey. That's next. Don't go away.
You know, I'm with Minnesota. I got Minnesota back at all times.